right, man. Well, today we got the legendary Coach Frank Zimmerman, four-time CIF champ and new state champ. Man, how are you feeling, man? How's life? How's life been treating you this past month?
I hear people say it's surreal.
Hmm.
I don't know how many times I've felt uh, that feeling. I'm currently experiencing something in my town that I was not prepared for. Um, when I meet somebody and we're hanging out in Oceanside, I usually say, I'm going to apologize in advance because we get stopped and coach and they,
Right, right,
and
right.
I love that, but it can be like when my family was younger, it would be a burden,
Hmm. For the kids.
because I
Right.
don't want to not talk to someone or
Hmm.
whatever. And I'm not like you running for office,
Hmm.
trying to kiss babies.
Yeah, yeah.
I say with all due respect,
Right, right.
but I enjoy kissing babies. I enjoy talking to my community. I mean, they're my people, right? So um, I'm getting stopped everywhere right now. It's crazy. It's like a whole different level. Social media, social media is a trip.
Yeah.
It's like, aren't you the coach of in the bank, at Walmart, at the doctor's office the other day? My mom's getting stopped. It's surreal, man,
But
because the community really got behind
yeah.
this team that I coached. And they love the boys and they love what we did. And they take a minute to share that. And they inconvenience themselves to do it. And it's very humbling.
Yeah. But I think everyone wants to be a part of success, and I think
Mm-hmm.
one of the things that I got to see the day that you guys won state, and we can even take it back, right? Because I want to talk about the journey and the process to that. But just touching a little bit on like the day that you guys won state, to see the bleachers full after
Yeah.
the game ended, to see how many cameras were on the field and were chasing the boys around, seeing all the water flying, seeing like the Gatorade get them pouring the Gatorade on you, but the amount of cameras that were on the field for a high school game and the excitement, like I saw people I hadn't seen out there in years in Oceanside at the game that they didn't even play soccer. Some of them didn't even go to Oceanside High School.
Mm-hmm.
At that point, it was just like, man, like the Oceanside soccer boys team put on for the entire city,
Mm-hmm.
and everybody was just like hella proud. It was a
Yeah.
dope moment that like I had never been a part of, living here in the city to experience, because it happened at home. Like that's never happened, right?
No.
It's like it actually, you guys got to win
No.
state at home. Usually, only the people that can go to a state game, but it was here at home. How was that moment like when the game ended? Because you guys knew you were gonna win. You were up 3-0, but like when it
Yeah.
ended, like
We didn't know at first, though, Jimmy.
yeah,
Those boys from Lakewood, which is nestled right between Compton and Long
right,
Beach,
right,
right?
yeah,
Uh, they were bringing it to us physically. We were in trouble. We were getting beat up, and we survived the onslaught. They didn't outplay us; they were just beating us up. And at halftime, and the halftime talks have been so simple.
hmm,
If I want to really underscore one thing, it's been about doing the simple things at a very high level and boiling it down to the simplest answer to the problem that we can get as many people on board with and engaged in, so that the success level is high.
yeah.
Um, that sounds so simplistic, right?
Doing the simplest thing at a high level, but that's like you have to dial in to do something like that.
That's it. I mean, if you can, 29 years into my career at Oceanside High, I've been coaching maybe 35, 36 years. I am not trying to impress anyone anymore. You know, I'm not trying to bust out this fancy new this or that. Um, I see a problem, I want to fix it, because the quicker we can transfer knowledge from our
Hmm.
coaching. By the way, the unsung heroes of this thing are my coaching staff,
Yeah,
and it's been that way in all four championships.
you can see how dialed in they were.
Dialed.
Like, and I saw you can see what I mean. You can see the conversations they were having with the players, the look in their eyes, like for them to also be able to like be a part of that, because it's a young coaching staff, and to have that success.
Yeah.
Can you take us through that journey of even like the season? Like, at what point did you know that this team was special? Like throughout the season, because you guys only had one loss, right?
Last year.
Last year.
Last year. Because between last year and this year, so many of them play club together. 8 of my starters this year play on the same club team at Oceanside Breakers.
Mm-hmm.
So as we started seeing some of the boys emerge, sophomores getting starting time, some of those sophomores were freshmen getting starting time, I knew that this year would be a good team. I had no idea we would do what we did. But months ago, the league alignments came out, and there we are, placed in the top league, I think, in the county.
Mm-hmm.
Torrey Pines, San Diego Academy, which is a very good program right now. La Costa Canyon, we'd never beaten La Costa, ever, not once.
These are all affluent communities,
Carlsbad.
Yeah.
Carlsbad, La Costa, San Diego, Torrey Pines. Yes, those affluent communities that typically, going back, and I want to do this, all the way back to when I was playing, they looked down on us. They belittled us, and I responded initially with hatred. I really had to work through that. It was very hard. To be in that league, I thought, man, it's going to be easier to win CIF than this league if we don't get beat up physically. Because what happens when our teams are typically smaller, quick, agile, technical players playing against bigger, stronger, technical players. These guys are good.
Yeah.
And most of them play for expensive clubs from those affluent communities with good coaching.
Resources.
All of it.
Yeah.
All of it. Sometimes their club fees are 3-4 times what our boys are paying. To match all that has been a 29-year challenge.
Yeah.
Identified pretty early. We had a very prominent player on my first team in 1996 who played down there in Del Mar at CIF, which is, I don't think there's an argument, it's the best club in this region. And the rest of our team played whatever they played, and they just weren't a strong enough supporting cast. Good players, though.
Yeah.
Just diamonds in the rough. And so that's, for me, really, was the big chasm. Torrey Pines would beat us 8-0, 5-0. When the Costa came, it was opened after I'd already been coaching a while. We'd never beat them, ever. And I remember saying things to my team. Let me go back a bit. We'd go to Torrey Pines when I was playing, and they would lock the locker room on us. They knew we were going to steal something from their locker room.
This is a nice school, man. Like, it's like, I remember when it was first built, and I walked into the high school, the basketball gym, and then they had the scoreboard. Like, I felt like I was on a college campus. I mean, growing up in the schools here, I was like, man, this is crazy.
I agree, but they went too far. They didn't have to lock us out.
Yeah.
That pissed me off, man. I took it personal. So the first few years I was coaching the varsity team, we didn't win a game my senior year, by the way. That really hurt. I was a captain my sophomore, junior, and senior year, and I was a decent player, and we had good players, but we didn't win one game. That had to change, man. Our club had pretty good players back then, but we were just underachieving. How real do you want me to get?
Go ahead.
Okay. When I was at Oceanside High, I had a knife pulled on me twice. My teammates were doing crystal at halftime. It was a mess. It was a mess, man. And when I tell people I grew up in the O and I lived that life, my dad managed Mike's Liquor on Hill Street, which is now Coast Highway. I saw it all, man. Prostitution, the bleeders. I think I talked about this with you last time, would donate blood across from the liquor store
And then come over to
and
liquor
come over
farm.
with $2 bills.
That's
So my
crazy.
dad called them bleeders.
Yeah.
And then they'd buy port wine and then they'd repeat the cycle. So outside of that liquor store, you know, I saw a lot of life. It scared me straight, to be fair. And then I went to Oceanside High and there was more of it there. Right? The Regal Cinema wasn't there. It was a park. You could buy whatever you wanted. I was scared of it.
Yeah, it was just an open field.
It was just open.
Yeah.
So I was an athlete and poured myself into that and music. And I just, man, I was embarrassed. I was embarrassed, to be honest. I was embarrassed of Oceanside. I knew we were better than that. And frankly, I had a mentor come to me when I was embarking on my journey with music. And I was just coming out of my music career, which after playing at Oceanside, I went to Miracosta. I got kicked out of Miracosta because I was so focused on music. And I signed that contract to Warner Brothers, as I told you about before. And then I would always come back and coach for the 3-month high school season to try and help.
Yeah. Was it just like an assistant
So
coach?
at first I was a varsity assistant, JV assistant the first year. The second year, they said, we're going to open a freshman team for the first time. And I coached that first freshman team, and we went undefeated.
What year was that?
That was 92.
So
1992.
that was did that team win CIF?
So that was an undefeated freshman team.
Right, but like 4 years later, did that team still continue to have success now?
No. It was unfortunate that our program, the players would
Filter out,
they would get caught up in that Oceanside stuff.
I mean, I've seen that throughout my entire, life here. It's like you have amazing talent. We have a lot of talent in the city that didn't go D1 or didn't continue, with their athletic career because you saw them get locked up by their junior or senior year, or you start using,
happened.
or they got kicked out of school. They're at Shores, and it's a lot of athletes.
That's right.
A lot of athletes who were Pop Warner,
Yep.
Legends,
Yep.
Freshmen, sophomore, JV, legends. And you're thinking, man, once they become once junior, senior, when they play on the varsity team, but come junior, senior year, they're in juvenile hall, or they just got caught up in the elements of the city. That is
man.
I mean, that's a reality.
There's my two captains on that team. I think things went two ways back then. Just like you said, half the team would fall to the wayside. The other half would be polarized into something more successful, like football.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
One of my captains became the quarterback for the football team, right? The other captain continued to play, but then the supporting cast fizzled out, right? So I bumped around coaching JV and freshman teams for about 7 years until at 21, I was having success with my teams. And we even, would do well against our varsity team, which, looking back, I would never want that as a varsity coach.
Right.
But I was on a mission, man, I was coaching those boys up, and they were answering. It's funny. Young men will respond when you give them. People will respond when you give them a goal, and you have them work toward it. And we had a lot of success. So at 21, they offered me the varsity job, but I was right. I was just about to sign my contract. So I said, no, I'm not ready. At 24, they offered it again. And I still was, by then I was signed to Warner and doing my thing. I'm not ready, but I still want to coach. I'm just not ready. At 27, they offered it a third time, and I said, well, I think it's time. I had made that commitment. My son was turning 5, and I was going to plant my roots, and I knew the only other thing I knew was soccer, so I took the job, and I left music, and very humbling, took a job working security at the high school. And then they found out about my music background, and thank goodness and I hope everyone listening, whoever listens to this, understands what I'm about to say, but I got kicked out of Miracosta. But because I was doing music and I was taking music courses, my music um, instructors, the McGill brothers, were Berkeley music grads. They and Miracosta's music program is one of the 2 or 3 best in the state at any collegiate level. I mean,
Wow.
it's legit.
Yeah.
And so they had me come in and lecture on MIDI music, which I was at the tip of the spear with the digital sampling and electronic triggering, and it was dope because SMPTE time code, hours, minutes, seconds, and then frames of seconds, was used to stripe the tape on the old analog recording machines, and then you would sync the music to that. I'm nerding out for a minute.
Yeah.
All right, these guys will like that. And then you could lock 248 channel machines together with the SMPTE time code and not even have to record the stuff. So most of what I would do would be play live from my instruments, and then we would record the DJ and the rapper or the singer or whatever onto tape, and it would preserve extra channels for those artists. For instance, I consulted with this sampling for an R. Kelly record, and he had like 22 tracks of his vocals, and they would just bounce back and forth to kind of make it that's what you did, right? And so I was coming into Miracosta and lecturing on MIDI music, and so they convinced me, Frank, we'll help you get your music certificate. If you want, we'll pass you through these courses because you got that, and you just have to take these. One of them was audio visual, electronics for audio and visual. Another one was business, introduction to business, right? I learned something in there I still use to this day. Team and group formation. Teams form, storm, norm, and conform. I still use that. That was great. But the electronics for audio and video course made me eligible to take the audio-visual job at Oceanside High. So I jumped from a security job, which at the time wasn't a very good job. It's a better job now. But we didn't get paid anything, to a job with benefits as the audio-visual guy. So now I was coaching and had this AV thing. All right.
What year is this now?
This was 96.
So now you're
I'm the head coach. I'm doing the audio-visual job.
Yeah.
A couple of years later, they found out about my music career.
Yeah.
I was DJing parties at the school, and they said, "Oh, well, you actually have a real career. You could apply for a teaching credential." So with no degree, I didn't believe my principal, but out of respect for her, because she was great to me, I hand filled out this. It's the only one in my life I filled out without typing it, on a typewriter formerly, and now, of course, on a computer. And the state granted me a teaching credential. I couldn't believe it. I had this long ponytail. I was embarrassed about how I didn't fit into mainstream anything. I'm pulling up in my Nissan hardbody, slammed to the ground, like this high off the ground. I was West Coast Frank. You know what I mean?
You know what I like about that too, man? That story is like, even there's a lot of people like that come back to Oceanside or come back to work at the schools, and they may step into it through a security position. And I think for me, like, even, you know, when I was, I you know, we were talking about Faye earlier. I credit Faye a lot for my success because he was the most impactful person in my life when I was a student with Oceanside Unified, because of the conversations we would have and the life that, you know, everything he was speaking and mentoring me through. And a lot of our security guards, man, like, they're a lot of our coaches.
That's right.
You know, and to hear, like, what you were able to do with getting that, your foot in the door in that position, it's a dope and inspiring story to be like, okay, I started there, but then I was able to go into teaching, and here now you've been coaching for what?
29 years as the head coach.
As the head coach.
36 or 35 total. But I don't mean to belittle that job.
Right.
You know what I mean? The problem is, I mean, we're getting real. So
yeah,
my baby's mom, who I hadn't married at the time, we were on welfare. And her welfare checks were more than my paycheck from that job was a terrible job. It's a good job now. It's a
Yeah.
different job now.
Well, I think the people see the value, like the security man, like
Come on, man.
our
That's
security guards.
hugely important.
You know how many things they diffuse
Yeah,
throughout the
100%.
day. You know, it's
And
like,
the skill of someone like Fa'i,
yeah,
who can speak greatness into people all day long, and then something goes down, and him just saying, "Hey," and that kid sees his face
out of respect.
and goes with love and respect.
Yeah,
It's just like a coach.
yeah,
If I yell across the field and you hear how scratchy my throat is,
yeah,
because I do some yelling during the games, I've jacked my voice up actually doing that. But my goal is that the players don't hear Coach hates me. You know, when I'm yelling, "Hey," to get their attention. I have to make so many deposits, Jimmy, so that when I make that withdrawal, that they don't hear Coach hates me. Because I can't afford to unpack all that when we're in the middle of a firefight. You know what I mean? Whatever's going down on the field, let me put it to you this way. I heard the Spanish are famous for being super boisterous on the sidelines, right? But I heard a Spanish coach once say, if you saw a baby running across the street and a car's coming, do you go, "Excuse me"? No. "Hey," right? You stop
yeah,
and you draw attention to the situation. So I said, okay, that's one way to justify yelling at people, but I don't want to yell at people, right? I want to try and communicate with people, and there has to be this exchange, because if you don't preface it with love, they're going to hear, "Man, Coach is yelling at me.
right.
He's yelling at me.
Yeah.
Teacher's yelling
But that's
at
all
me."
how the relationship and the investment
Amen.
in the relationship. So, with all that being said, now it's 2024, and you're on this like wave. Like we showed up. I think Andres was there at the quarterfinals. I think at that time he was the first camera person out there taking pictures. When I got to the first game I went to was the semifinals for the San Marcos game. So like
The San Diego,
yeah. But even when you guys won league, like at that point, because I think I saw you when they were doing the event down at the amphitheater, and you were like, "Man, we're about to win CIF."
Yeah.
You told me that like 2 months ago. You were like, "Man, I'm about to get this fourth ring," but you were so sure.
Yes. Oh yeah.
And so like, can you take us on like maybe the past 3 months, like, you know, putting all that together now, like reflecting, like, okay, it's 1996, you take on this job, but here you are in 2024. Like, I can see it. You were just like, "Man, we're gonna win CIF," but like, did you know that you guys would win state?
No, man. So I have a friend named Mark Kohler, and you and Andres and Danny were the first I asked in, right, to come talk to the team. But right before the CIF final, I asked Eric Joyce next. He came in, and then I asked Mark Kohler, who is a former coach that coached with me at Breakers, and he wrote a book called Lead with Purpose, and he is a former submarine XO, number 2 in command, and would consult and go into businesses and hire and fire and restructure it, and 6-8 months later he's out, and then maybe a year off and then do another one. That was him.
Yeah.
So, but he was taking the principles of leadership that he learned in the Navy, 6'4" in a submarine for 10 months at a time. Man, that's crazy, right? And apply them to business. And then he came to me and said, "Let's try it with your team, because it's really all team building." And so one of the simple things we did, and you saw it, is we post all our goals on the board.
Yeah, on the whiteboard.
I'd never done that.
Yeah.
Ever. So we had success. We, over the years.
You met all the goals too. I think there was just one that you guys didn't. You guys didn't win the tournament.
We lost in the final of our tournament.
Yeah.
But
Andres brought it up.
Yeah, man.
After you guys won state, we walked through a locker room. He's like, "Oh man."
No, man. I'm going to tell you about that too. That was San Pasqual. We beat them in the tournament last year.
That was the only team that beat you all year.
And then they beat us this year in our tournament. And the coach, he's my friend, but he's like, "Yeah, Frank, set it up. I want the rematch."
He wants to, now that you.
And then as soon as we won, congratulations. I'm glad that was your only loss.
Yeah.
Dang, come on, man. Anyway, he's my boy.
How'd they do?
They lost in the open quarters. Good team. They're going to be better next year.
Yeah.
And they are the program that I aspire to be.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, that coach played on the 2002 team that we beat in the semifinals on our way to our first one. And that year, I took the team into San Pasquale's. We played them in league. We lost twice to them in league, but I took them in when we played them at their place, and we had our lunch. We sat down in their gym. No one was in there, and I just said, "Eat your lunch, and just look up." There's banners, just everywhere.
For the
right?
soccer program.
For the soccer program, but for all the success that they had, but the soccer program, years of history of winning. I'm like, one day, we're gonna do something like that, but man, you gotta put the work in, and okay. So then we get to the semifinal, and that coach was on that team, and we upset them in the semi after losing to them twice. I taught video, right? We had a great camera. One of my students came, recorded every game. I broke that thing down for hours, and we found something, and we beat them in overtime. They were way better than us. And that's who Oceanside was. We won a CIF championship, but we're fourth place in league. We won our second CIF championship years later.
So 2002 was the first one. You were fourth, one CIF.
Yeah. That was my first one. And then we had never won league all the way to 2014. And then here comes Mark. And he says, let's do a beta and let's try it. And we put the goals on the board, and the first one was like 5 shutouts. And I'll never forget, my captain that year comes to me, "Coach, we got 4 shutouts. One more, and we got to check that box." And it was like a light bulb went off. It's like, wow, man, these goals mean a lot to me, but putting them on that board means we're all thinking about it and looking at rowing the boat in the same direction. We won our first league title in my time, 96 to 2014, and then we won 6 of the next 7. And then we won Roy's, our friend Roy Sarmiento. The next year we won CIF for the second time.
That was in what, 2015?
2015.
Yeah.
And then 2019 we won our third one.
What was your ranking? So like in 2015, you guys were ranked number 1? Or?
So we'd been ranked number 1, but we'd never won it as number 1.
Okay.
We'd been upset at number 1 once or twice.
But the year that you won in 2015, you were ranked number 1?
No, we were like number 4.
And then same thing in 2019?
Actually, we were like underdogs. What, 7? We were ranked number. He was on the team.
But I say that because you're saying that's who we were. We were like ranked number 7.
That's what we were, always the underdog.
Yeah.
And I'm really comfortable with that.
Yeah.
So in 19, same, we were like number 5. I think I flipped them. Thanks for that.
So in 2024, you're 1.
Okay, and that was
because you looked. I mean,
uncharted
you
waters.
told me when I saw you down at the beach. You looked at me and you said, "Man, we're gonna win CIF."
Yeah, man.
And I was like, "Cool." But when we saw you on the field, man, you were looking a little nervous.
Oh,
you were kind of
man,
like,
it
I think
was
was it the
hard.
pressure of being number 1 and being
I
at
think
home?
so, but you know what it really is like, okay, the CIF games were difficult because we'd been number 1 for so long this year. After a while, everyone's coming for you.
Yeah.
Everyone knows.
You're getting everyone's best game.
Everyone knows who your player is.
Right.
Everyone, there's no secrets anymore. So they started neutralizing some of what was working for us. And we started also, this is what nobody knows, we started getting sick. Every year, like a sickness will go through the team, and people started getting sick.
Like the flu, or?
Yeah. So now I'm having to like play different combinations. It would pay off, right? Because guys were sick. Like Lincoln Newcomer, if we stopped the season halfway through, Lincoln would have been our MVP. But Lincoln got sick, like for almost the entire playoffs, and just before he was sick.
Yeah.
And he was underperforming to his standard.
Right.
Right. But he was sick, and there was a bunch of other guys sick too. So I'm having to come up with these different combinations. That was stressing me out, because as good as we were, we're not really deep. By the end of it, we were deeper because I had to play so many different players and solve the problem so many different ways. God, again, credit to our coaching staff, because we faced all those challenges and we used practice, I think, very wisely. But then you're playing so much, game after game after game, you can't really do much in practice.
There was, I think, the semifinals that we were at. When we got there, just seeing you guys warm up, I think Andres even said, like, oh, Oceanside's going to win. You can just see the demeanor in the boys. Like, they were locked in, whereas the other team kind of felt a little happy to be there, you know, the moment, or maybe just being away as well. But the boys look ready.
Well, let's go. Yeah. Your original question was, I knew we were going to win CIF, right?
Yeah.
So I was worried about league, but I started telling them we were going to win CIF in December. I wish they were here to tell you. I was like, you guys are going to win CIF. I can tell you right now, I've won it 3 times. I know what that feels like. You don't. I would love to feel that with you. But you guys are going to win CIF, and here's why. And there was all these reasons why. So now, let's fill in the blank. Let's start achieving that. And then I remember I've never in 29 years said that to a team. I think it's dangerous because then anything less is, right? But what I was doing initially, and at this moment right here, I just looked up at those hats and it came back to me. I thought we were going to get smashed in league physically by those big, affluent teams. And I found a text message to a colleague, maybe it's time for me to retire, when I found out I was in that league. Because I felt like we could win D2 CIF, but I mean, can we survive that league? They're going to beat us up. All of a sudden I look up and we're undefeated in the first round of the league with 1 tie. And we had beaten La Costa for the first time ever.
Since you've been here?
No, in the history of the school.
Oh, that's crazy.
We'd never beaten La Costa.
This year was the first year you guys...
We beat them twice. So, Jimmy, we'd only beaten Torrey Pines once. With when he was a senior,
in the history of the school.
In the history of the school.
So this, you said something on the news. You said this team, the whole season, has been rewriting the history.
They are, man, it is nuts. At our banquet, I'm gonna bust out the record. There's a lot of records. And you know the thing is with Torrey's significant. They're like one of the best public school programs in the nation.
Yeah.
Okay. My first year in 1996, we tied them. We were the first Nike high school in California. I was really proud of that. We walk in with our Nike jerseys. The coach was also a coach of the year at UCSD. He's like, Frank, you've got the Nike jerseys on. I'm like, yeah. We tied him. He left. He was so mad. He didn't even say bye. He was so upset. And then my assistant coach and I are walking our team, and there's a bunch of Torrey Pines parents waiting for us between the field and the bus. So I told my coach, just walk straight through and I'll talk to the parents. I don't know what this is about.
Yeah.
So the parents, are you the new coach? And I said, yeah, I'm the first year coach. My name's Frank Zimmerman. Coach, we're so impressed with your team, right? And they gave us all these nice comments. And I felt great. I got on the bus and I still felt great. And then we turned out of the school and we got on the freeway and it hit me. It hit me. It's because they expected so little of us. It tore me up. They used to lock us out of their locker room. It pissed me off, man. Sorry. And I said to myself, I had to change that. They don't respect us. So for 5 or 6 years, I used to coach with anger. Right? Your dad cut their grass and your mom cooked their dinner. Let's go. Right? Just pissed. Jimmy, they locked us out of their locker rooms every time we went to play because they didn't respect us. Now, I don't feel that way anymore. I don't. We've changed the narrative. They respect us now. They've respected us for a long time. For probably the last 20 years, people don't think Oceanside's an easy win anymore. They don't think we're going to misbehave. I've overcorrected, and I feel bad for some of my players. Andres will tell you, as one of my former players, man, I make them. I didn't make you guys wear the ties, did I? Yeah, they have to wear ties on game day. I overdo it because I feel guilty. I feel like we are, like we deserve those negative connotations and feelings, that we still have the prostitutes walking up and down Hill Street, that we still have the bleeders selling their blood for money, that we still are Oceanside. That, and you know what, that gives us a lot of street cred, because look, you take the wrong turn in Oceanside, you get hemmed up, right?
Yeah.
Music was my passport through every section of Oceanside, but not everyone could do that, right? And so I think it's great in Oceanside. If you're looking for trouble, you'll find it. But if you're looking to avoid it, you can avoid it. But them judging us is different than you telling me about us.
Yeah. No,
And I wasn't okay with it, man.
I still remember going up to Torrey Pines in that area and cutting their grass. Going up there with my dad and like.
There's nothing wrong with that either, man.
No, there's not. But there was. I do remember how they would look at my dad, how they would look at me, how they would talk to my dad.
Yeah,
and it's
man.
like all that sticks with you. And for a long time, it was very upsetting to me. And then as you start processing and reflecting on those, experiences, it's more about, okay, how can I empower those around me to be able to overcome that and give them, opportunities where they don't feel less than, because I used to feel less than, right? During that, and it made me very angry for a long time.
Man. Well, Jimmy,
Yeah.
my dad's liquor store had a sister store in Solana Beach, and we would often go cater a party for the store. And they just made you feel so little.
Yeah, like the help.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so when you put all those experiences together, I had this really guilty feeling about being from Oceanside when you look at those people.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I realized it wasn't them, it was me. Like, I gotta change us.
Mm-hmm.
Because you know what? There's nothing wrong with us.
Mm-hmm.
We got flavor.
Yeah.
We're from the O.
Yeah.
And so what needed to happen was I had to stop blaming them for what was going on in our life as Oceansiders. I had to start dealing with the kids I could control.
Yeah.
So I had 20 a year. A mentor told me, he said, Frank, man, you're all over the place. You're trying to do this and you're trying to do that with music and soccer. And if you pick something, you can really make change. Just pick something and you can really make change. And so I decided I'm going to try and change Oceanside's image through soccer. So I actually put all my eggs in that basket. So I played at Breakers, Oceanside, our club here. I played at Oceanside High and I played at Miracosta. And I'm now the coach at all three for that reason. I'm serving that mission. I just want to change. I can't change what they think about our commerce or what they think about our harbor or what they think about downtown.
You're having an impact,
but I can impact
on what you feel called to do.
That's right.
And you're having a big impact.
And soccer, people that come, we're like a soccer mecca now because of, I've done some work at the complex to try and bring people here, and soccer matters, and Oceanside's got something to say about soccer in this country.
Yeah.
Oceanside has a voice now. And so, yeah, man, you put all that together and you start to find the success in the 2014, 15, 16s that we started building it. And all of a sudden, this team comes together. And I'm afraid of league because I've been through that league so many times.
And also, I think the mountains, now that you put it in context, like, you won CIF already 3 times at that moment, but you haven't beaten La Costa, right? And even
I only beat Torrey once.
Once, right? So, like,
right.
There's these big mountains.
Huge. Carlsbad has a great program, too. San Diego right now is a top program. Oceanside's pretty good. Okay, boys, we're going to win CIF. we got to get through league healthy. So boys, don't be upset if the game is close and you're going to want to win, and I'm protecting us by subbing. I was setting that up.
Mm-hmm.
I'd been saying it for weeks, for months before the season started. Roy, Eddie, my assistants, I'm going to have to do a lot of subbing because I don't want us to be hurt limping into the playoffs trying to win games in league when it's futile to win league. I mean, it doesn't. I mean, the league banner is nice. I want to win CIF. I want these boys to order a ring. I want them to feel what that feels like. And we can win CIF. But I don't know if we can win league. Man, all of a sudden, we're in first place in league, right? And it's like, well, I like to win too. So, and we're actually pretty good. And we can win this league too. So the original reason or motivation for telling them we were going to win CIF was I felt we could win CIF, but I wanted them to have the eye on that prize so that I could justify some of what I was thinking I was going to have to do during the league games. And it turned out they made it easy.
And then when you guys went, were you at the league when they won league? 'Cause I think that's where I saw they hit you with the Gatorade.
They hit me.
And even then it was like, okay, but he already told me they were going to win CIF. I didn't know the context of how important, not necessarily important, but like the obstacle
it's
league.
important.
Because I saw the celebration when they won league. Because I know Andres had filmed it, and I was like, man, they're celebrating. But he told me they're going to win CIF, so that's cool that they won league. But now, like hearing all of that, it's like, man, now league was a
monster for us.
Yeah.
It's the toughest league in the county. You can argue that, but the point is that those monsters were huge dragons for us to slay.
So then you get through that. You guys go through. At what point? Because I think you guys had like a 6-game shutout, right?
We did.
When did that start?
We didn't get scored on since the Torrey Pines, the Carlsbad Torrey Pines. Which one? The Carlsbad game in January.
All the way to winning state.
So we shut out San Diego, we shut out La Costa, we shut out Torrey, and then we went on a 6-game playoff run. So we had 9 games with no goals scored against us, which that alone is kind of nuts. But what happened was those monsters in league, they prepared us for that playoff run. We were battle tested. We had to make some subs because people were sick, not because they were hurt. I'm going to give a shout out to another assistant coach named Scott Peary, who is an ex-teammate of one of my coaches at Cal State Northridge, and he is a performance coach. So he left the States to work in Europe and worked at like a handful of Champions League clubs. So in England, and Galatasaray was the last one in Turkey. He's coached Beckham. He's coached Thierry Henry. He's coached Dieter Drogba. And what he does is he's the guy that helps them warm up, helps them cool down, and teaches them the active recovery pieces. You saw him out there with the rollers and the bands. That's Scott.
Keeps them healthy.
Scott kept us healthy.
Yeah.
And then when we started the playoff run, I would every month we would create the calendar for the next month. And he goes, Coach, the playoff is crazy. You got a game, a day off, a game, a day off. It's nuts. He said, all right, I'm going to come to each of those game days, and we're going to do ice baths. So right now,
the boys were doing ice baths.
So we have trash cans.
I saw that.
And we fill them up with ice and water, and the boys are up to
even shows like the grid of Oceanside too, because I know I'm sure those other schools actually have tubs, but you guys had actual like trash cans.
We went to the Ace
or
Hardware,
the bins.
and we got them.
So a few more questions before we wrap up, but one of the questions I wanted to ask you with this 2024 team. How do you think this 2024 team would stack up against the other CIF teams that you've had?
Man, they want to know that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They've asked you?
Oh, man. We're the best team you ever had, Coach? Nah, you guys are all right. You guys are all right. I think the 2017 team I had was a very good team, right? And they didn't win a championship. They won league, but they were in the open and they lost in PKs. And the thing that they did, though, is in our tournament, they tied Servite, beat Cathedral from LA, and then, which is these guys made a video from the footage from that game, and then they lost to Servite, number 1 in the nation. We were number 6 in the nation, right? By the end of the year, though, we got beat in the semis, so we dropped out of the top 10. This team today, the national rankings just came out, and we're in the top 10. And
this team right now,
this team, yeah, it's kind of crazy. And so,
has that been put out yet, or they just told you?
No, this is the first time I've talked about it.
What do you know? What the ranking is?
I think we're 9
in the country,
in the nation, which is kind of crazy, right? We're number 3 in the state. I think we're 3 in the state. Great.
So the boys don't know yet.
They don't know. So this is the best team I've ever had. That solves it. And I think I can honestly tell you that with 8 starters coming back, they have the potential to do some damage next year, but it's going to be tough for them to live up to all this.
Yeah.
So, I'm trying to enjoy it. We haven't even ordered our rings. We're in the middle of that process. We've talked about those things all year. Man, I really think Mark, help me, Mark, the lead with purpose author. He helped me with dream casting. Like, it's important to speak greatness into people and speak potential into their lives, because, hey guys, you have the ability to do this. Let's go do it. Guys, we got to work on this so we can do it, and just keep pointing to that greatness. And one coaching phrase I love about Vince Lombardi, perfection isn't possible, but the pursuit of perfection makes excellence possible. And this team was excellent in so many ways. Man, if they would have not lost that game to San Pasqual, right, to be an undefeated team and to go out with 9 shutouts, okay, I got to somehow not let that bother me.
Yeah.
But what they did was pretty incredible.
So would you count the state ring as your 5th ring, or you're still looking for that 5th CIF championship?
No, it's gonna be 1 ring with what we call the Oceanside treble, because the treble in Europe is winning like 3 championships. So we got the league, the state, and the San Diego section CIF. So our 1 ring will represent the Oceanside treble.
That's what's up.
Yeah, man.
So one last thing I would like to see, and I mentioned this to Andres and Daniel when we were at the game, I really want to help, me personally, anything I can do. And I think with you, both of us, we can make this happen. I would like to get, for the stadium of Oceanside, big flags, like real, like legit, huge flags, that when people drive down the 5, they can see that the Oceanside High School football team has won state, the multiple years that it's won, and also that the soccer team has won state. I want everyone who drives down the 5 to see that on the corner of the stadium, big flags that say state champions and the multiple years that state has won here. Because, like, as being someone from Oceanside, like, I think the whole city would be proud of that. Anytime someone drives through here, you see, like, man, like, the city's it's nothing to play with. We're not a joke. We're a city of champions, and I think we can make that happen. We just got to raise the funds. But that's something I would love to see for the school. And I can't even tell you, like, I got goosebumps when you said, like, Oceanside High School is ranked number 9 in the nation.
It's pretty cool. Yeah. These boys are gonna always cherish this memory.
Yeah, for sure.
And what I want you to understand, Jimmy, flags or banners or rings or whatever, it's so cliche to say this, but I think there's a lot of love in that locker room. And for the first time in my career, I got to tell them on our last practice, this is our last practice, right? And there's 100% guarantee we'll never practice again, because tomorrow we play in a state final, and that'll be our last game, and then there's no more games to play. And if you win that game, that's the ultimate, right? I've never been able to say that in all my years of coaching, that you could actually go out there and handle this, and you've done everything you could ever possibly do. Man, it's like everything after that's like a letdown, because these guys reached the mountaintop.
Yeah.
Right? So I challenged them and myself to find ways to continue to reset goals and keep striving for what's next. Next year, if we win the state again, great. If we win CIF, I would definitely would like to, and I think we can, right? But it won't be easy, and that shouldn't define us. This year is this year, and for the next 6 months, we're champions. But and we have this thing during the playoffs when we made the first round. Okay, you're quarterfinalists. What's up, quarterfinalists? No, coach, I ain't no quarterfinalist. What's up, quarterfinalists? Almost like mocking them.
Mm-hmm.
Been doing that my whole career. Then we win it. What's up, semifinalists? No, coach, won't be a semi. Are you happy with that? Is that enough? Are you sure? Okay, let's do something about it. What's up, finalists? Coach, I want to be a champion. You got to handle that tomorrow night. What's up, champ? You could be a champ till Monday. Then we got to be quarterfinalists again. That was fun. It just became this thing on campus. What's up, quarterfinal? What's up? Today I'm walking one of my players I hadn't seen in about 4 days, which is like you see him every day for 3 months now. What's up, champ? That was dope. Look at me getting emotional, man. The thing is like, why do you coach? Well, I really, honestly, Jimmy, have to tell you that I didn't know why. After I won that first CIF, I thought it was for that stuff. And it was less important to me to, the championship was less important than the relationships. So what came next was realizing that, you know, I was giving these boys all this soccer stuff, but I need to somehow give them something more meaningful. And so when I started working the FCA camps for the Fellowship of Christian Athletes and realizing that that was right, it's the relationships, man. And that organization, FCA, has meant so much to me over the years. Those 15 years I did those camps at UCLA and at UC Santa Barbara, it really helps you understand the depth to which a coach can impact a player, right? But these players impacted me. And this year, I got to tell you, it just keeps giving back. All this work that we put in to try and give our boys every competitive advantage. Sometimes it, like, you don't see the return on it. If you walked in our locker room like you did, they come to school in a collared shirt and a tie. They got a parka, they got a sweatsuit, they got a beautiful kit, they got everything they could possibly want, and they don't have to buy it or pay for it. We raise the money through that tournament we do to help them have the best. Oceanside has the best because Oceanside kids deserve the best. And that's exactly what happened this year. Those boys got the best because they went and worked for it. And there was no barrier between them. And when I really think about what this is all about, that's it. How do you live as an Oceansider? How do you live your life and not have an excuse? Right? You tear down the barriers, you level the playing field, and you get to work. I got to tell you, man, we can drop the mic on that one because anything is possible when you do that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And we will drop the mic on that one, man. Champ, state champ, ranked 9th in the nation.
Thank you, man.
And thank you. We
Appreciate you, man.
Absolutely.